Well, the results of the Canadian 2011 election are now in. The Conservative Party has maintained its leadership role, however, this time with a majority. This election also saw for the first time that the NDP has become the official opposition to any government. So, while the Conservatives may be in a majority position, which is the absolute worst thing that could happen, at least something farther to the left is in the main opposition is there to combat them. Many bourgeois political commentators have said that this indicates a small shift to the left for Canada. However, I remain to be convinced of such a shift, as there has been long-standing contradictions between what Jack Layton says is NDP policy and what he and his own actions have carried out. A little while ago, Jack Layton was opposed to the occupation and Canada's role in that occupation of Afghanistan. Now, this led to the bourgeois media calling him Taliban Jack in retaliation for not supporting the bourgeois line. However, not long after, he helped extend Canada's mission to 2014. He's always been the biggest and most vocal supporter of universal health care within Canada. However, when he had a cancer scare, he chose to go to the United States, to a private clinic, rather than use the universal health care system. He made some pretty big promises if he was to be elected, and that he's in the opposition. We hope they can carry through at least some of them. He'd said he's going to hire more nurses and doctors, a measure that I wholeheartedly agree with, considering the Liberals and Conservatives have cut them as much as they possibly can. He's also said that he's going to protect the retirement pensions of the people of Canada, another great measure that's been cut drastically so that people will go out and buy RRSPs. Effectively, most of our retirement has already been privatized. Jack Layton has also said that he would try to stop Stephen Harper, who says we don't have any money for health care, from spending billions on new fighter jets to fight an enemy we don't have. I'll give him credit for one thing he did do. He didn't run a negative campaign ad. But I sincerely doubt that another man who represents the bourgeoisie, although to a far less degree, will actually put through the things that the Canadian public actually needs. Now on to more pressing matters, the Conservative majority government. Stephen Harper, or Bush 2.0, will no doubt use his stranglehold on the country to push through all kinds of reforms. Already in the city I live in, my friend, whose mother works as a nurse in the only hospital we have, her union has told her that within the next year, the hospital will be shutting down. There'll still be an ER and dialysis, but other than that, the hospital will be gone, which means not only will there be not enough healthcare service, there'll be no mental health service whatsoever, which is a tremendous mistake given the rate of mental illness that actually exists in the city where I live. And it's already bad enough needing mental health services here, because you are treated like an annoyance and not as an actual patient. With a majority Conservative government, there is no doubt that within 2 to 3 years, we will probably have a private healthcare system. In certain fields of healthcare and in certain areas in the country, privatization is already being pushed through against the people's will. I do not care that the Conservatives have a majority vote. The majority of Canadians want a universal healthcare system. We don't want to end up like the U.S. healthcare system. As it seems to be forgotten, people died so that we could have a universal healthcare system. A lot of people laid down their lives who died at the hands of paid thugs and police officers who were paid by the same people who make up the Conservative Party. Not the people who voted for it, but the people who make up its funding. It seems this lesson of people who have died so that we could have the right to go to a doctor and not go into bankruptcy has been forgotten. Evidently, people are going to have to die in order to protect the healthcare system we have. This healthcare system is the last thing that's actually good about this country. I can't wait for the right-wing nationalists to start screaming their usual tirade. You know, how I should leave the country if I don't like it. Well, let me ask you something. In your mad drive to turn the true north strong and free into the land of the free and the home of the brave, allow me to give you that same piece of advice. If you really want to live in America, why don't you move to goddamned America? Because that's the advice you always give me, right? Like, why don't you move to China? Not to mention exposing your complete ignorance by acting as though China were a communist country. I mean, I don't really know what idiot left is actually really thinking that. So for once, why don't you take your own advice? If you want to turn Canada into America 2.0, why don't you just cut the garbage and move to America? Everything good about this country is going to die. And very, very soon, we're going to have our own version of the Patriot Act. Although being in Canada, I hope they'll name it something a little bit more honest, like the "if you disagree with the government, we're going to lock you up and torture you and kill you" act. Well, I hope they'll be that honest. I'm going to go now before my head explodes from this BS. But before I go, I would just like to say to everybody who voted conservative, I sincerely hope you suffer immensely under this government that you so stupidly elected. You just effed over the entire country. And frankly, I hope every one of you that voted conservative rots in hell for it. This land used to belong to you and me. Now it belongs to the bourgeoisie.